Guys, listen, usually I put down some bullet points to talk about with movies. I want to give you a great review, but here I'm just gonna riff about why Fast X is a great return to form for the franchise, because guys, I feel like this franchise has been in a bit of a lull. I'm a huge Fast and Furious fan. Yes, even the ones that are bad, I still kind of like. 9 was not good, but wow, 10 is a great return to form. Makes me feel like I'm in the era of 5 to 7 again, which in my opinion is the peak of the franchise, y'all. And this, wow, this was so much fun. But hey, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button if you enjoy videos like this. The name is Leo Rydell. Thanks for coming to the channel and viewing this video, and let's talk about Fast X today, because, or Fast 10, I mean, geez, I keep seeing that X and I want to say Fast X, but Fast 10, guys, the 11th movie in the franchise if you're counting Hobbs and Shaw. And let me tell you guys, wow, I had a blast. These stunts are over the top in good ways, guys. We see Dom in part of the movie chasing this giant bomb. Y'all, it's really, really cool. I don't want to go too much into more spoilers, but I just wanted to give you one amazing stunt that happens in the movie that is absolutely fantastic. Dom and this bomb are so freaking cool. But guys, the whole gang is back and they're in some of their best forms. We got Dom back, of course, the leader of the Familia, being amazing and stoic as usual. And Vin Diesel does this weird thing where he bucks his chest out all the time. We're in full superhero mode at this point. We might as well go all the way. And let me tell you guys, I feel like at times Dom has superhero entrances, stoic and takes up the screen. I'm like, okay, Diesel is going for this hardcore hero here, and I live for it. Listen, this is a cheesy franchise at this point. I loved it, but I gotta take a little sidetrack here into the newest edition of the franchise, and that is Jason Momoa and his villain in this film. He is campy, he is fun, he is really cunning, he's slippery, very much has the same energy as Heath Ledger's Joker. He gives this jokey, very playful like energy, and it just works for this franchise, and it is the biggest reason that this movie really revitalizes the franchise. I think that he injected something that John Cena in 9 didn't have, that Charlize Theron in 8 didn't have, and that's just some campiness and fun with the villainy, something that, as far as we've come, is different and fun and charming and hilarious. I really liked Momoa's villain, and he was cunning and he was very evil. Like, don't get me wrong, he did some very evil stuff in the film, but I really liked bringing him in and his dynamic with Dom, and how, of course, he's another one in line to want to kill Dom, but he just brings something more to the film. He is the son of the villain in 5, so I really like that connection as well. And honestly, all the characters here, I'm not gonna spoil the connections, but all the characters here are connected. They are somehow connected in some way, so the new characters, be on the lookout, because they are definitely connected to the Familia in some way. Daniela Melchior is a great new addition. She brings this emotional beat to this film that I think was absolutely needed, and she does a great job. And Brie Larson as well, a great new addition to the cast. I think she does an excellent job too. And man, let's talk about the classic Dom crew, y'all. Tej and Roman, their dynamic in this movie is way better than 9. 9 leaned in way too hard into the jokes with how they don't die and how they seem superhuman. I'm like, okay, one little beat of that is fine, but they just kept hitting it over and over and over, and it was getting exhausting. Here, they pull back and they give us that classic Tej and Roman dynamic duo that was so great in the 5 through 7. You know, they kind of buck their chests at each other, and it's kind of like, hey bro, hey, we brought this guy in here, but it really works. And Ludacris and Tyrese, man, they're just so good together. That dynamic is so well fleshed out in the franchise, and they bring it back in great form here. They have good jokes. There's a little squabble between the two of them. It just works, man. Ramsey's great as usual. Listen, I thought that she was an excellent addition to the franchise. Natalie Emmanuel is great as an actress. She was fantastic at Game of Thrones, so I love bringing her back here, of course, as Ramsey in this series. Let's talk about Letty, y'all, because Letty gets some scenes where she is kicking some ass, and I love it. We see a scene in the trailer of her fighting Charlize Theron's character, and I will say that's as awesome as it looked in the trailer. I had a great time with that. But man, I gotta give it, man, Lil B, he is amazing in this movie. I love how this character has just grown since the last film, and we see him, you know, being Dom's son, Of course, he is a natural with the cars. We see some scenes with that, but his dynamic with John Cena, who is in this movie, and he's Uncle Jacob. I love this character that they've made out of John Cena because in 9, he's too serious. I just don't like that for Cena. But man, when you give him the goofy uncle treatment, man, he really ate it up. So all of our crew guys are just killing it. There's some cameos I will not spoil. I know that some big publications have already spoiled one. I'm not gonna spoil. But Han, a great return as well. Good to get him back. Per usual, just a sleek, good, sly guy. I love Han in the series. And man, we already know from Fast 9, the post-credit, Jason Statham's character is back, and man, he is just as badass. Shaw is so cool, guys. Like, every time he enters a room, he's just slick. He's got this presence that just makes you feel intimidated, but also like, dang, that guy is so cool. But of course, we have the theme of protecting family back in full form here. Dom does some crazy stunts. There's some crazy stunts throughout this movie where at this point, you just gotta look at it as another Marvel movie, as a superhero film. Like, it's pretty much become a superhero franchise at this point. Let's be real, Fast and Furious is now a superhero blockbuster franchise. They defy physics, things happen, people are making up cars, like things just happen, man, that you're like, there's no way in real life that this would happen, but it just works. There's great stunts, great dynamics. The visuals are a little rough, I will admit, the visuals are a little, but let's be real, they're going over the top at this point, and at this point, if they want to go to 20 movies and they want to start crossing over with Transformers and with Jurassic Park, I'm here for it. Let's do it. At this point, let's time travel. Let's do it all. I want to touch on Okan. Rest in peace, Paul Walker. What a hit to the franchise that has been. So unfortunate for his loss. Fortunately for this film, they really present that character in such a positive, great light without having to do the body double stuff and including him. So I love that he's in the movie, but he's not physically like in the movie. They didn't use his brothers or anything like that. So I'm really happy that they really can still dedicate this franchise to Paul Walker without having to have him there. And I love what they do with the memory of Paul, and it's such an emotional beat. Rita Moreno, by the way, doesn't get a lot of screen time, but I love me some Abuelita, okay? She was great, always is, brings presence everywhere she goes. She's a queen. And speaking of queens, Helen Mirren, not a lot of time, but again, her presence was enough. She was amazing. And I had a video coming up on that, so definitely stay tuned because I think there's some kind of connection between Queenie Shaw and Dom. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know for sure, but all I'm gonna say is I think there's a connection there. And I will be talking about it in my theory video coming up. But back to this one. Holy crap, I just like so much. The needle drops were so good. The locations, I will say this, the location jumping is a little bit rough. Like, there's a lot of location jumping. Guys, sometimes it wears you out. Like, honestly, it can wear you out a little. It's great. There's a lot of great locations. They go to Portugal, Rome, they go to other parts of Italy. I really like the locations they use. It's just, whew, it felt a little overwhelming at times. So that was a little much sometimes. Another thing that was a little much was the editing. The editing is pretty horrendous. It's very, very choppy, lots and lots of cuts. Even in scenes where it's very unnecessary. There are scenes where, there's a scene where Dom like hugs Abuelita and then like closes up. It cuts to a close-up of her like hugged up on his chest, and I'm just like, that was such an awkward shot placement. Let's talk a little bit about why this is such a return to form, because 9, I felt, just didn't have a good villain. Unfortunately, the Tej and Roman stuff felt super forced and it felt over the top, like in a bad way. It felt like, okay, we're doing too much with the comedy, like way too much. Here, it's just subtly squeezed in. Tej and Roman are just themselves. Whereas in the last one, I feel like they just rambled on and on about being able to survive this whole time. And that just, after a while, it got so old. I'm like, okay, when are we gonna get off this beat? Because it's getting old real quick. And here they don't do any kind of stint like that, so I think it's good. And 9 didn't really necessarily have cameos, and there was these weird Vin Diesel's like obviously CGI body, and then the flashbacks were a little bit odd, and they don't do that here. There are some clips from some other movies which I think are very tastefully inserted. However, they don't do like let's get a young actor for Dom and do this whole flashback story with him and Jacob. They don't do that stuff, and I think that it worked here not having that in the film, because that was part of what took away from 9, was that going back to the past constantly, that just, we don't need that in the Fast and Furious franchise. But the races, the one race that we do get is awesome. I wanted a couple more races, but we know at this point, this is not a car franchise anymore. This is an action-packed blockbuster at this point. But guys, I had so much fun here. There's so much adrenaline. There's a cliffhanger at the end. It really does leave a lot of room for the next film, and stay for the post-credit. You'll absolutely want to stay. There's a one mid-credit scene, and maybe there's a post-credit in the theatrical cut. I don't know. At the screening I was at, there was no post-credit, but who knows? I know that some people saw it and there wasn't even a mid-credit, so I'm not entirely sure, but definitely stay tuned to the mid-credit. You'll want to see that for sure. Guys, if I had to give a rating to Fast and Furious 10, guys, I am going with an 8 out of 10. This is a great return to form for the franchise. Of course, it's quirky. Of course, it's cheesy. It's corny. It's campy, but it works here. And I loved Momoa's new villain. Loved getting the crew back. Dom was great. The stunts, the over-the-top action was great. The editing was horrendous, I will admit. And the CG, some of the visuals, not as great, but hey, we are in a great return to the form for the franchise. It's like a roller coaster ride, guys. When Marty Scorsese said that Marvel movies are like theme park rides, I was like, this is even more like a theme park ride at this point. Go to 20, take us to back in time, take us to other universes. I'm here for it. Guys, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on Geekly Goods.